everybody, TheRealConcertKing here. I'm back with another interview. I'm pleased to be joined by Eric Hutchinson, singer-songwriter extraordinaire. Been following him for quite a few years now, so it's...
Yeah, been a while.
Yeah, like 2008, 9? When was the Marié Justin tour?
Yeah, that was probably 2008. 2008 maybe.
Wow. But so, you got a new album coming out.
I do.
At some point.
It's coming out this summer. It's called Eric Hutchinson is Pretty Good. I'm hoping it's coming out in June.
I love that title. That's the best. It's not too ambitious.
No, it's just setting the bar.
Yeah.
But yeah, June is hopefully coming out, and we're starting a run with Philip Phillips and Matt Nathanson. That starts here in Del Mar, so hopefully the album will be out by then. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of talk about how you got into music early on and
what
your early influences were like?
My early influences were really the Beatles. Like, it was all my parents listened to, really. And they used to quiz me on which Beatle was singing which song, and it just got me, like, into the music geek world very fast of, like, figuring out who's playing what and how all that stuff worked. And I loved music. Loved Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder, and that's still some of my favorite stuff. And sort of when I was a kid, it was just like, I like singing, and the next natural step was just to start making up a song too, and I kind of just went from there.
Nice. Do you remember the first album that had like an impact on you that really kind of made you want to pursue music?
I mean, there's a couple off the top of my head. I mean, Thriller. I mean, anybody who grew up in the 80s, it was Thriller for everybody. I loved that album, but I also got really big into Stevie Wonder and Soundgarden. I remember the Super Unknown record was really big, and I don't know. There's a lot of good stuff. Vampire Weekend more recently, and Frank Ocean have been some of my biggest influences when I'm making stuff now. I just love the way they make records, and I don't know. I like to think I get influenced by all kinds of stuff.
It definitely sounds like that's what comes across in your music. I mean, there's a lot of different influences there. You know.
Yeah, sometimes too many. I think people just want to be able to say like, "Hey, this guy's alternative," and I've got a lot of labels.
No, it's do your thing, man. It's did you ever you've had a lot of success so far. You know, you've played a lot of really cool tours recently with Kelly Clarkson and Pentatonics, which was an unbelievable show, one of my favorites last year. You know, you're currently on tour with Rachel Platten. You've toured with all sorts of, like Matt Nathanson, Phil Phillips, like you mentioned. Like, that's recently. And even before that, there's been a lot of really cool ones. Has there been like a standout moment or a moment where like, wow, this is like my life. This is my career. Like, I'm doing it.
I mean, there's still every night there's always a moment. Like last night we did a private show at the Bellagio Hotel in Vegas, and we were like set up right in front of the Bellagio fountains, and we're just like playing, and you look over to the right, and it's just like, how is this our life,
Yeah.
And that stuff's cool. But I mean, I was a big G Love and Special Sauce fan growing up, and when I got to do some shows with them, that was really exciting and felt like really important.
Yeah. How early on was that?
2005 maybe,
Oh, man.
and then I did some more touring with him in like 2009 or 10, and actually he's going to be playing harmonica on one of my songs on my record, which I'm really excited for. So he did that, and it sounds awesome, and that feels like a cool full circle moment to like have this guy on one of my records.
That's really, really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any songs that have particularly more meaning to you that you've written, released than any others?
I mean, my song "Not There Yet" from Moving Up, Living Down is always feels kind of how I feel about a lot of stuff. It's sort of like I go through all these things and I'm trying to make sense of it all, but sometimes maybe things just don't really add up to anything, and just gotta keep going.
I love that one. Yeah.
Thanks.
Have there been any? I mean, your meanings of your songs are usually pretty straightforward. You don't really veil stuff in a lot of metaphors and stuff very often. But have there been any interpretations of your songs that have been wildly different than what they intended?
The song "Tell the World" is sort of tongue in cheek. It's sort of sarcastic, like, oh, let's just tell the world everything we're doing and post online and all this stuff. But I also wanted it to be sort of straightforward, like, this is a great time. But a lot of people didn't pick up on the sarcasm of it. But that's okay with me. That was sort of the idea. But
that tends to be the people that, I mean, you've got a very kind of dry sense of humor at times, and very sarcastic, and that tends to be the curse of sarcastic people, is that people don't always understand that it's not, You're not being
it's hard.
serious.
It's hard to get dry sarcasm across in a song when you're singing it.
Yeah, because you can't really do the inflection. How's your writing process changed over the years? What is this, your fourth album?
My fourth album. I think I don't write as many songs as I did before. I used to have to write like 100 songs and then pick 10, and now it's more like I can tell quicker if a song has something, if it's working. But especially with this album a lot, I wrote a lot of it and then went on tour and then came back and listened to the songs again with fresh ears, and it was the closest I could get to like listening through somebody else's ears, and so it sort of felt like co-writing with myself, which was interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. You've had different influences for each album, because each album kind of has its own vibe. Was that like an intentional choice, or was that just something, that was just how your life was at the time, what you were listening to, or?
Yeah, I think it's kind of both. I think every time I make a record, I want to be somebody else, like a different person. But this new one's like the most soulful and kind of, in a lot of ways, it reminds me of sounds like this and kind of the way I made it and the way I felt when I was making it. But it's soulful, and I think people are going to dig it. It has really big, like I saw these singers on an off-Broadway show who were just so soulful, and I loved it. And I reached out to them on Twitter, and they came and sang on the album. So it's got like a lot of soul vocals on it.
Yeah. You write a lot of like kind of upbeat, quote unquote, happy music, even though not all of the themes are always necessarily a happy, upbeat theme. But, the problem I have with a lot of like happy music is sometimes it comes across as like disingenuous or forced or whatever. And you don't really have that problem, also because you're not always writing about happy things, like Watching You Watch Him or some of the other ones. Is that, was that like a choice you wanted? Like, I want to make songs that sound happy in whether or not they are.
Right. I mean, I think that's like a Beatles thing I got from them, is sometimes the songs are really upbeat, but they're singing about sad stuff, and you can get away with that. And sometimes I like kind of juxtaposing that stuff and singing Watching You Watch Him all upbeat, but it's sort of this real sad lyrics. But I mean, a lot of times,
I don't love you.
Yeah, right. I mean, a lot of it, I'm trying to cheer myself up, and I was, especially in the early stuff, I was usually pretty depressed when I was making it, and it was a real surprise to me when the sounds like this came out, and people were like, "It's just my happy music," and it was sort of like I sort of find this middle ground now of like wanting to make sure I live up to that, but I don't know. The first single is kind of like my first power ballad from this new album.
Yeah, that's definitely a different approach. You haven't really had I don't know if you've had any singles like that, but you definitely haven't had a lead single like that so far. And it's a great song. But it's kind of a shift for that.
Well, I think part of the challenge for me as I'm making more albums is how do I don't want to repeat myself, and whether fans think that. I don't think listeners want me to repeat myself either, because they already have those songs and those albums. So to me, the challenge now
is stale.
I just want to keep doing different things so that there's some growth.
Yeah. How do you've played a lot of shows? How do you create set lists? And I know on the I was talking to your tour manager about the Rachel Platten tour. You're doing the same thing that you did on the Kelly Clarkson tour. You kind of abbreviate songs so you can cram more in there for the people who may not have heard your music before.
For me, doing the opening stuff, especially with Kelly and Rachel and probably this summer too, it's like we're just trying to give a taste of what the live show is like to everybody. So it's like, even if you maybe thought you knew what my stuff's like, this is it. It's like, it's a high energy soul review show, and we're just having fun up there. And so I'm trying to cram this. I said to the band when we first started out with Kelly, like, I want to cram our 90-minute show into 30 minutes. And that's what we've been doing. And there was a lot of sweat involved. And, but yeah, picking the set list, it kind of just depends. I'm excited now having some new songs, figuring out where they can go in the set, and there's certain ways I feel like things should be, and I get mad when I go to other people's shows and I feel like they're just breaking easy rules. I'm like, you could switch these two songs, it would be so much better. Yeah. But I mean, I like organizing stuff like that, so I like thinking about the track listing or the set list and stuff.
Well, I mean, you've signed them all. I like every show I go to, I always end up with one of your set lists. And so it's I think you do a really good job. It's always a pretty good mix. It always flows really well. And
I try. That's a big thing I've learned over the years. Especially, I went to a Springsteen show and kind of felt that. But it's all about like, what do you do with the energy from a song? Like the worst is when you play a really big song and then nothing else happens after it. So like, to me, it's about like coupling songs. So like, one song builds, the next song builds on that, and the third song is sort of the climax of that, and then you can come back down and back up. But to just play a huge song and then a quiet song and a huge song and a quiet song, you don't really get a rhythm going.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about your shows is that you're always really funny, and that's just naturally you. You're like I said, you're very dry sense of humor, sarcastic.
Yeah,
and you always interject with fun stories or quips or Backstreet Boy impressions or whatever. Like, is that something that do you work on it? Do you think like, oh, I have to say this? Do you ever feel any pressure to be like, oh, people expect me to be funny, or is that just totally something natural and you're just like?
I kind of go back and forth. I think like definitely the danger is like trying to be funny is usually not funny. So I try to just let it happen naturally. If something cool is happening, I'll talk about it. Or if I got something funny to talk about, or
like on the live album, you had some really
exactly.
good stories.
There is some pressure there. Sometimes people are like, oh, I came to the show because I heard on Pandora, I heard before I sold out, and the song you're giving this girl a bunch of shit, and like I wanted you to do that to me tonight. I was like, I don't really pick on people.
Well,
like
once it's done, it's done. Like
yeah.
You're not a comedian doing greatest hits,
right? Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the first time I saw you, I didn't know who you were, and I went in and I thought, I was like, man, the music was great, and he was hilarious. Like it was like a double show. It was like a comedy show.
Yeah, I like to, I just want it to be entertaining all the way around.
You do a great job. It's always,
thank you.
And at the Kelly Clarkson tour, when you introduced yourself as Kelly Clarkson and Pentatonics.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that was good.
Just try to keep people on their toes a little bit.
So you've been around for a while. You've seen the ins and outs. Do you have any what do you dislike about this current state of the music industry? Is there anything that really kind of you wish you could just change?
I think I've had a real change of heart the last few years, and I think there's never been a better time to make music. I think it's easy for people to say they don't make it like they used to, and stuff used to be better. But music's really great right now. There's lots of good stuff. And the thing that people don't remember is there was lots of terrible stuff in the 50s, 60s, 70s,
people are like, oh,
80s.
the music in the 70s is better. It's like, that's because you're thinking of the 6 amazing bands and not the 600 terrible ones.
Exactly. When you live in it in real time, you have to go through all of it. But then like suddenly the 90s seem really good because all we hear is the good music from the 90s. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, I think the streaming culture is really interesting. I love it. I do think we need to figure out a better way to
compensate.
Yeah, just to, because I think it's harder and harder to make a living doing it.
Yeah.
We've got a sound check going on behind us.
I mean, I definitely, think it's kind of sucks for like what Pharrell just said he made like $2,700 from Happy on Spotify. Like, come on, like that's.
I'm not worried about Pharrell, but that's still the point. Is
but I mean,
people say that
somebody that's at that level, it's like then the people that are lower aren't, and from that revenue stream just aren't.
Yeah, it just doesn't quite work because music's never been more popular. Mm-hmm. It's never been easier to get it, and I think that people are now getting more used to the idea of like, hey, paying $10 a month for unlimited music is a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
And, I mean, maybe I should think about doing that, and it's much easier just to pay $10
than $10 per album, and
and also just to like have to worry about downloading stuff. It's just like everything's there, So
what I mean, you kind of answered a little bit, but what do you like about the current state of the music industry as opposed to how it used to be or whatever? Other than the accessibility.
I mean, I just think music's continued to grow and evolve, and there's ways to keep combining new music you didn't even know about, like. When I was growing up, I would never have been able to write a song like Forever or something and make a song like that. And I had to start listening to EDM and kind of like that stuff, and kind of it sort of came out of there a little bit. And so to me, it's just, there's exciting stuff going on. You just have to
find it.
Yeah, which is exhausting. I understand people are like, I don't want new music. I just want to listen to Springsteen.
Yeah. So you've played shows, I assume all over the world, and I know definitely all over the country. Are there any differences in like crowds or whatever, in different parts of the country, different parts of the world? Like, are people more respectful of their places than others, or louder?
I did some shows in the UK last summer. I'm going back over this summer. That was really fun, and I had some success in Australia, so we went there. It's just cool to show up somewhere and have never been there before, and there's people that are listening to the music, And that's the same in America, too. Like, we played our first show in Lawrence, Kansas the other night, and it was awesome.
That's awesome, yeah. So you've played all sorts of different venues, like the arenas to little clubs, bars, backyards, I don't know. But do you have like a favorite environment? What do you think is like the most conducive to, your kind of show, or this something you feel most comfortable in, or is it just
I've never
anywhere?
played the Belly Up, and this I can already tell it's going to be a fun show tonight.
Yeah.
Friday night, it's just a cool room. As a musician, you can tell really quickly when a venue cares whether the artists are enjoying themselves there, and like it's just, you know, you come off the road, you're tired. It's the very little things that make a difference and put you in a good mood to do the show, and so I think it's going to be fun.
Do you have a dream tour? Is there? I mean, you've like I said, you've toured with a whole bunch of great artists.
I want to open for Billy Joel. He's been doing once a month at Madison Square Garden, and then he's like touring. I don't even need to do. I just want one. I just want one at Madison Square Garden opening up. I think that would be pretty awesome.
That would be.
My buddy Gavin DeGraw did like 30 with him, and
Yeah.
I'm like, just give me one. That's all I need.
Can we just trade for one?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the biggest show you ever played?
Some of the stuff with Kelly was pretty big. We did Staples Center in LA, and I don't know. There's been some big outdoor stuff, like that. And that was the biggest thing I got from the Kelly tour was I really learned how to be able to play to that big of a crowd, which was really fun. And now it feels like I know how to do that and project to everybody. And
That was the first time that I've seen you in that big of a place, and it didn't feel like, you know, fish out of water or anything. I was like, oh, he's doing it. Like, this is the same show. It's the same Eric, and it's just in a big, huge, giant room in front of 10,000 people.
right, yeah. I mean, and maybe prefer a little smaller room because you get the energy a little more. But
yeah, you like to interact with people from time to time. Yeah. Do you have any particular songs that you like to play more than other ones, or ones that you don't get to play as often that you wish you could for various reasons?
Yeah, All Over Now is always a song that I like playing. It's been around for a while, and it's just, I feel like songs
the
are
bass
like,
line in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I think I'm playing it solo tonight, so there'll be no bass line.
Oh,
but
well, still, I'm happy.
it's just, it's a song I'm always like happy to play, and it just kind of feels good. So.
What about, you just kind of mentioned it a little bit, what the pros and cons of playing with the band as opposed to just by yourself with a guitar?
Yeah, I find whichever one I'm doing, I wish I could do the other one, and then when I'm doing the other one, I'm missing the band, or, you know, I did some solo shows. I like doing those because I can tell some more stories, and kind of, it's more of a storyteller's kind of thing, but I love my band, The Believers, and we have a lot of fun. It's definitely more fun to travel with the band and have other people around. In my early days, I traveled by myself all the time, and it was just really lonely and boring, and it's nice to have people that are actually my friends out all the time.
Yeah. You've had the same band pretty much for several years.
It's been a while, yeah, and we're having a good time, and everyone knows what they're doing, and it's just nice to have a good group of guys that are positive.
Jesse's not here, is she?
She's not. She's going to do the LA show with us, but not this one.
She's been at a couple of the San Diego ones. It's always great to see her come
Jesse
out.
Peo's awesome.
So what's the best concert you've attended just as a fan in your life?
There's been a couple, but I'd say Prince, the Musicology tour at the Arrowhead Stadium. What's it called in Anaheim?
The Honda Center?
I think
it's the Arrowhead Pond.
Yeah, there it is. It used to be the Arrowhead Pond. Now it's the Honda Center. I went there in 2004, probably 2003, and it was just so good. I just danced for like 3.5 hours straight. And he's just such a great musician, and I feel like people don't realize how good of a guitar player Prince is. And I was really impressed.
If you could go back to your high school self and give you advice, what would you say?
It's interesting you say that because the first song on my new album is called Dear Me, and it's a song written all about
Maybe I secretly knew that.
Giving advice to my younger self, and it's mainly about not taking things too seriously, and I don't know. It's a hard thing. What would you tell yourself?
I think along the lines of just don't take everything so serious. It's like not everything is important as you think it is. It's like, you know, just be yourself, and who cares what other people, you know, judge you for, as long as you're happy doing what you're doing and you're not being an asshole to somebody, then
there you go.
Just, ease up. I think we're all, at least a lot of us I was, a little more tightly wound when we're younger, and then as we get older, we kind of ease up a little bit, and just kind of, just a couple more here for you. If you weren't a musician, what would you do?
I'd love to be a restaurant critic. Or
You'd be a very witty, snappy one.
yeah, chefs are like the new rock stars, I feel like. So I don't know. I think Anthony Bourdain has like the best job in the world. If I could just travel around and just eat food everywhere, I think that would be it.
Yeah, but not Andrew Zimmer. No.
Which I'm okay with, but it's just Bourdain's more like they show up and they get like the coolest people to take them around, and like I could get used to that.
Yeah, they just have somebody take them around a city. This is the best food that we have.
Yep.
Eat that. Yeah, that's not a bad life. So you mentioned the album's coming out summer?
June, I'm hoping.
June.
Yeah.
And so what's the best place for people to find your music currently?
You can get it on Twitter and... No, you can't get it on Twitter. You can get it on iTunes and Spotify and Apple Music, all that stuff. It'll be out. I'm hoping to press up the new album on vinyl too, which is people have been asking for a while. So yeah, it's gonna be good.
Well, I think that's all the time I have. That's all the questions I have. Thank you tremendously to Eric Hutchinson.
Yeah,
he's the best. And thank you guys for watching. And all right, see you guys. Bye.
Bye bye.